What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Big Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. We have in the feed already a Christian McCaffrey traded to the 49ers emergency podcast. This is the Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury figured something out and beat the snot out of the Saints, thanks to Andy Dalton being terrible. Thursday Night Football recap podcast, which is full of, by the way, joining me to break this down, John Breech and Ryan Wilson. What's up, boys?
Breech, you were in our little private chat channel that we have for work purposes. You were riding your high horse after the Andy Dalton touchdown, and that high horse promptly ran off a cliff with you on it. How did you feel about primetime Andy Dalton? And I have a ton of stats I can't wait to share with you about primetime Andy Dalton.
Well, Wilson, as someone who has been a Bengals fan my whole life and watched Andy Dalton play primetime football for them for 9 years, I knew exactly what to expect. I saw exactly what I expected. I got on my high horse because I was hoping it finally turned the corner after 11 straight seasons of horrible performances in primetime. It did not happen. Did I tear up during the 2 minutes where he had a total meltdown? Maybe. Was it painful to watch Dalton just throw the game away? Yes. Am I ever going to watch him play in primetime again? Probably not. Did I let Brinson talk me into changing my Twitter header? So now that I have Andy Dalton stuck up there. Yeah, he changed it.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's
I vowed to keep it up there until Andy Dalton wins his next primetime game.
That
so
is
really,
gonna be
it's going to be up there for the rest of my life.
In perpetuity. By the way, Brinson, while you were indisposed momentarily,
God.
well, just let me tell you this. Brinson, Breech said, look, Andy Dalton played bad for 2 minutes. That's it. And then Breech actually conceded. That's basically like Tom Brady throwing 75 interceptions in one game. Like 2 minutes of Andy Dalton primetime time, that 120 seconds is like a full game for anyone else. And it's all bad plays one after the next.
You should all go to twitter.com. That's TWITTER. Then you hit the period button, COM, hit the backslash button, then type JOHNBREECH. See if you're following John Breech, and if you're not, good. If you are, immediately unfollow him. That's all good. That is a great, oh my God, that's a great header. I can't believe I gave that to you. The guy's just like flying into the end zone, like over, like doing a flip as Andy Dalton is walking off sullenly. Back-to-back pick sixes, bro. That's tough.
Did you see the photographer in the background? That's actually Breech. I tweeted that at you. You didn't see it. That's a true story.
The first pick six was actually not his fault. It was Marcus Callaway.
Well, he threw 3 interceptions the game. 2 of them were his fault. So let's not let him off the hook. And it might as well have been a pick six because that first one was in the end zone.
Breech, you know who you are? You're the guy, like my wife's a teacher, so she sees this sometimes with parents. You're the guy who comes in between September, the start of school, till about March, and you're defending your kid. Like, no, he's not a terrible kid. No, he does his homework. He just gets lost. By June, you're like, you know what? This kid's a straight up butthole. You're exactly right. I am done with him. I can't take it anymore. He's going to summer school. Everything he did, you were exactly right about. I apologize. That's
no. Rough on him now. No, he needs to know.
Absolutely. You need to know the truth, Breech.
It is, but there was a talent. I have no clue, like the range of Billy's cultural references for this stuff he pulls.
He's a wild card.
Well, like I wouldn't have guessed that he's a Talladega Nights guy.
I'm the biggest Talladega Nights guy you'll ever meet. If you ain't first, you're last.
Right. Have you watched Step Brothers?
Did we
said he's a Talladega Nights guy, not a Step Brothers.
This conversation already? I'm trying to get. Look, Billy is our new colleague.
For now, we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how long this lasts. There is an internal over/under which I'm not allowed to disclose. That
2 weeks is what it is. I saw the memo.
It's Christmas. Thanks.
All right, Brinson, I'll ask you a question because I know what Breech's answer will be because even though he's an angry parent, he still loves his son, Andy Dalton. Brinson, should Andy Dalton remain the starter? Now listen, here are the details. 2 more prime times to go for the Saints. They're home versus Baltimore week 9, on the road versus Tampa Bay week 13. And Rap Sheet said prior to the game that there's a, quote, solid chance that Dalton remains the starter before all those pick sixes.
I think
Inevitably
Andy
happen.
Dalton is substantially better than Jameis Winston.
That's a terrible.
What?
It's not a terrible take. It's a very clear and obvious take. They were missing a bunch of offensive linemen. The defense was down a ton of people. They didn't have Jarvis Landry. They didn't have Michael Thomas. Andy Dalton, again, Marcus Callaway calls the first pick six. You could
What
argue
did Breech say about the other two?
I think Andy Dalton looks like very clearly on the just general eye test like a much better quarterback for this Saints team and this Saints offense than Jameis Winston.
And to Brinson's point, I think Andy Dalton gives them a better chance to win. And look, Jameis Winston had a pretty healthy Saints team, Saints offense the first 3 weeks of the season. And what did he do? Scored 10 points against the Buccaneers, scored 14 points against the Carolina Panthers. Andy Dalton is literally playing with Alvin Kamara and 1/10 of a Saints receiving group because everyone is injured. He just got Chris Olave back, didn't have him last week. He's had absolutely nothing, and yet they've somehow still managed to average more than 30 points a game in the 4 starts that he has made.
A couple things, Breech. Number one, Jameis was coming off an ACL injury, which people failed to mention. And by the way, Patrick Seeley in the comments makes a second point. Jameis throws deep and he throws pick sixes. Dalton only throws pick sixes. So
How
at least
can
you're
he
getting
say
some variation.
After watching the second play of the game,
Yes,
which was a 53-yard touchdown pass. He threw deep. It was a deep touchdown pass.
Breech, you can't quit him.
I think that this is, to me, look, one person on this podcast before the season started pounded the table repeatedly over and over and over again, saying that the Buccaneers would be trash. The Saints would rise up and dominate the division, and it would be because of Jameis Winston getting unlocked in Pete Carmichael's offense now that Sean Payton's gone. Look, just own the terrible take.
The Buccaneers are terrible. What are you talking about? I love that you make that.
The Buccaneers are 3-3, and they're not great.
You make that argument after Tom Brady loses to the worst Pittsburgh Steelers team in the last 50 years.
The Saints are. If my argument before the season was that there was going to be a drop off for the Saints with Sean Payton gone in terms of their offensive production, that feels like a very accurate and fair statement. 7 weeks into the season.
Did you guys watch Andy Dalton tonight?
Yes.
And you're okay moving forward with that as opposed to
Jameis Winston is not good on the
Did
Saints.
you watch Jameis Winston in the first 3 games? I think that the Saints don't
he's
like him in
recovering
there.
from an ACL breach.
Pete Carmichael, is that why he threw 3 interceptions in one game, 2 interceptions?
It's
in
part of the
next
ACL
game?
recovery. You have to throw 3 interceptions before you're fully healed. Everyone knows that.
I just feel like Pete Carmichael, the offense coordinator, feels like he cannot rein.
I thought
Jameis
Andy Dalton
Winston
looked sharp in this game, and he was making good reads. He was locked in on Chris Olave. I didn't think the play calling was fantastic. You could use Alvin Kamara more.
Yes.
I can't believe I'm with Breech on this. I don't.
Well, Breech wasn't wrong when he said that it was basically 2 minutes of super crappy football from Andy Dalton, but those 2 minutes cost them 15 points. I think they went for 2 on one of those things. At least 2 touchdowns. However, the math worked out on the 2-point conversions, and that proved to be the difference. So there you have it. He's losing you football games, even on while most mistakes that a player might make might cost you 5 yards or 15 yards or maybe a big play. Andy Dalton's good for a touchdown every mistake he makes. The first pick six made it 20-14 because the Cardinals went for Blankenship shanked the extra point. At that point, there was under a minute left. The Saints had no damn business trying to go out there and just get to half.
No. After the first pick six, there was a minute 50 left. So they got the ball back with a minute 50 left.
Oh, right.
And that's the ball that went off of what's his name? Sam.
They were about midfield when you're about midfield. You got a decent kicker. Get a couple. Just get into field goal range. Make it 20-17, and don't.
That's what they're trying to do.
You just don't need to be throwing aggressively.
He was throwing 15-yard ends. I mean, Breech with his arm, who can throw the ball 45 yards, can make those passes. I mean, there was nothing difficult in the throws he made. They were just, the first one was not his fault. The second one was just a terrible throw. And the touchdown, the interception, the first, what's that?
Did he get hit in the second one?
No.
Just a horrible throw.
The first interception was a terrible throw as well. I mean, that was, by the way, we mentioned just
it was an inaccurate throw, but Marquez Callaway should not have allowed it to become a pick six.
no, the first interception in the back of the end
Oh, the
zone.
first interception. Yeah. That was
so
bad.
if we're doing the math and if we just count, that's 18 points he cost that team.
Well, and the thing is, if he had just played it safe on the first interception, which the Saints were up 7-3, they had driven down to the Cardinals' 10-yard line. And if Andy Dalton just says, you know what, that's not a throw I can make.
He's getting hit while he's throwing this ball.
I'm Andy Dalton. I cannot make this throw. And he just throws it out of the end zone. You get 3 points. You're up 10-3. Game moves on. But instead, he tries to force it in there, gets picked off. And same thing with the second pick six. If he doesn't make a bad throw, if he just throws it away or just doesn't make a horrible throw, then it's 20-14 at halftime, and that's much more manageable.
I'll say this, Breech, I think you're exactly right.
I think you're wrong. I think he's getting hit by.
You're the only person on planet Earth making excuses for that.
Well, let's see if we can find a possible photo of this, a screenshot of him being hit as he's.
Breech, I think you're right. I think Andy Dalton play on a per play average is better than Jameis Winston, but the mistakes are just for some reason, especially on primetime, magnified, and they cost more. They don't. If the average mistake cost Jameis Winston 0.3 points, they seem to cost Andy Dalton 30 points.
He's just
I have no idea what I'm looking at.
That's Andy Dalton. This is a professional football game. You watch it for a living. The Saints, they're the team with the yellow Fleur-de-Lis logo.
There you go. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, where's he getting hit?
He's getting smoked.
Now, Breech, is he getting hit there according to your monitor? Maybe my monitor is slow.
He's being touched yet.
I don't either.
He hasn't thrown the ball yet. He's going back with it, man.
Okay.
I just dropped the video in there. It looked like he got hit as soon as his arm went forward.
I'm not trying to make excuses for Andy Dalton, but if you were trying to say, if anyone is trying to say Jameis Winston is a better option for the Saints than Andy Dalton right now, I think they are just factually incorrect.
That's fine. I'm saying that, and we can disagree. That's the whole point. But Andy Dalton, I mean, you're saying it literally an hour after he threw 3 interceptions, 2 pick sixes.
But think of being the Saints coaching staff, because I agree with Brinson. You're the Saints coaching staff. You're like, my God, Andy is the better option, but he also threw 3 interceptions, 2 which were totally on him, and 1 that's on Marquez Callaway. Do we keep him in there? Do we bench him? What do we do? Because our other guy also throws 3 interceptions, and I just think that Andy Dalton gives a better chance to win, which is weird to say. And the other part of this is that because of those 2 pick sixes, it's really like, if you're a Cardinals fan, did you even feel comfortable watching the offense tonight? I mean, DeAndre Hopkins blew it up. Besides that, they struggled.
Can I ask a question about the Cardinals?
Yes.
Brinson, I'll ask you.
Great.
Can an angry quarterback coexist with a coach he doesn't appear to respect?
What? Yeah, of course.
Okay, let me put it in other terms. Name the quarterbacks that are good quarterbacks who can walk off the field and yell at their coach, calm the F down, because of whatever Cliff Kingsbury had been saying over the headset to his quarterback. Like
I don't put that much. I mean, we were in a meeting with we were in a meeting earlier today and I was yelling.
Well,
I don't put that much.
Yeah, one person was yelling, everyone else was not yelling.
Well,
are you Kyler Murray?
I guess. Yeah, actually, yeah. There's a talk about putting a homework clause in my next contract, actually, which would not be the worst thing in the world.
No, that's a mistake.
I don't even know if you're joking. That's how serious that is.
I know. No, I
don't think you can have a situation where a successful situation, the situation as Breech is sort of alluded to, is not successful in Arizona with Kyler and Cliff. I don't think you can have a quarterback who doesn't respect it. Like Dak Prescott isn't walking off the field and talking to Mike McCarthy like that. Aaron Rodgers isn't doing that to Matt LaFleur, even if he doesn't respect him. I'm not saying he doesn't, but I mean, that's not happening. Like Mitch Trubisky isn't doing that to Mike Tomlin.
Well, that's not a good example. I mean, Tom Brady yells at Josh McDaniels, or yelled at Josh McDaniels.
If that's the offense coordinator.
That's the offense coordinator. He yelled at Bill O'Brien too, and everyone's like, "Yeah, that's hilarious."
Who's the play caller for Arizona?
He's the head coach.
Who's the play caller?
Cliff. My point is,
Jimmy G yelled at Kyle Shanahan.
They don't like each other, and he didn't want him.
And Kyle tried to trade him.
He literally drafted Trey Lance 3rd overall.
He yelled at him after the trade attempt. So that's for the record.
Okay, that's a weird flex. My thing is, or a weird hill to die on. If your quarterback doesn't respect you, and it appears that he doesn't with the way he's treated him publicly,
I don't think that's true.
Okay, I think it's weird, and I think it's a problem. You can't name one other quarterback that has done that to their head coach and it's been successful. in the
I mean,
NFL.
Jimmy G and Kyle Shanahan went to a Super Bowl and almost went to a second one last year.
But Kyle tried to get rid of him.
Yeah.
That's the point. And so Jimmy has nothing to lose. He can disrespect him all he wants this year because he knows he's gone after this year.
And he's in the first year of his deal, Kyler is, and he's clearly visibly. And I'm not saying Kyler's
Cliff.
I'm not saying Kyler's wrong. I'm saying that this is not going to work. If they're doing this publicly, or if he's doing this to Cliff publicly, what in the world is going on behind the scenes?
Look, to be clear, I don't think that this Arizona thing, with the way that it's been set up with their contractual situations and how they think this offense is going to work, will be successful. But I don't think that I don't think Cliff and Kyler have beef.
My only question is, would you, as a head coach, appreciate your quarterback disrespecting you like that?
As Brian J pointed out in the comments, Kirk Cousins and Mike Zimmer have just gotten a fight. That's a very fair point. But also one of those guys was eliminated from the situation as soon as the season was over because the front office realized that they could not coexist. And maybe that's what Wilson's saying. Maybe that's where the point eventually gets, because if the Cardinals aren't successful, the bickering's going to get worse, and they could get to a situation where they can't coexist.
Sure.
Typically, you're the one that overreacts to simple things. I thought that was sort of weird.
I'm just kind of over these. It's like training camp fights and sideline bickering.
But this is a coach. I mean, I don't care about players fighting.
He's the play caller. He's calling. I mean, again, I agree with you in the sense that if they have a toxic relationship, it's not going to be good for them moving forward.
Like if Drew Brees yelled at Sean Payton, I'd be like, that's fine. They've both been there for 40 years. When they were both in New Orleans together. Like that's, what are you making a face for? Do you understand that?
Just trying to mess with you.
Oh, because they know each other. They have a relationship. I don't get the sense that Kyler and Cliff have much of a relationship.
I think Kyler and Cliff are.
You don't think Cliff invites him over to his bachelor pad and they hang out and play Bago?
I think Kyler and Cliff are.
I do think they play Bago
personally, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, there is. I do think there is a lot of pressure in Arizona right now. This team is now 3-4. They're very much in the playoff mix in the NFC. They're very much in the NFC West mix as well. Do I think they'll win? No. Do I think they're a particularly great team? No. I think Kingsbury's offense is problematic. Hopkins coming back helps him a lot, but I think the pressure for the Cardinals is coming from the fact that they're being ripped for giving Cliff, Steve Keim, and Kyler all new contracts this offseason when they hadn't done anything to prove it or deserve those contracts. And so that internally is sort of maybe manifesting itself into pressure that they're pushing towards each other. I mean, that would, I guess, be, I don't know. I mean, but I don't think the blow up on the sidelines is that big a deal.
No, I think it's indicative of a situation where the quarterback doesn't respect a head coach, and a head coach who's already in deep dookie because he's not doing a great job.
He had an extension 3 months ago.
And the team feels dysfunctional. Like I said, if it were, a veteran quarterback and a veteran coach, I'd be like, all right, they're just mad at each other. But these are two people who one probably more so than the other doesn't deserve the extension they got. And I don't know. I've never seen a quarterback talk to his head coach like that and publicly. I would just push back again. I don't think that the combo is going to work, but I would push back on the idea that Cliff and Kyler don't respect each other. I think they like each other. I'm just going on the fact that he yelled at him, calm the F down, and screamed in his face when they got to the sidelines. Now, I mean, did Robbie Anderson respect the wide receivers coach he was yelling at?
It's a 2-4 football team on a primetime island game. This is a blip on the radar if this is a 1:00 game.
That Panthers game was a 1:00 game. Robbie Anderson yelled at the wide receivers coach.
It was actually a 4:25 game, but
I mean that made headlines because he got kicked out of the game by his own head coach.
Yeah, that's a little different.
That didn't happen.
You saw him yelling initially.
Scott Hansen would definitely cut to it on red zone and say, "Oh, we got a little."
Yeah, I mean, we knew about it before he got kicked out,
but we wouldn't be spending 10 minutes talking about it.
Yeah, because he's not a quarterback. He's just a sort of a wide receiver that's not doing great. Okay, we'll see. That's fine. I just thought it was weird.
I mean, it's not ideal. You prefer to have some harmonious.
Well, guess what? The Cardinals' next game is against the Minnesota Vikings. So Kyler can go to Kirk, ask him for some tips about almost fighting your coach in the middle of a game, at the end of a game. And
Kirk beating up Mike Zimmer? Do we know that?
no, they almost went full fisticuffs in one.
I'm
game.
asking who'd you take though?
Oh, I would take Zimmer. I know
think
he's
I would
older,
too.
but he seems like
He definitely fights dirty.
right.
Kirk
Kirk Cousins seems like a guy who's never been in a fight in his life.
right.
I mean, Kirk Cousins could beat me up. Let me be clear on that. He just seems like a guy who's never been in a fight.
I mean, I'm playing devil's avocado here, but to me, it looks like Cliff was kind of losing his mind on the headset, and Kyler was trying to like distill the noise and not listen to Cliff losing his mind.
No, I think that's right.
Calm the F down.
I think that's exactly right.
Hopkins put his arm around him, and then everyone calmed down, and they were fine. Like there was no shoving or pushing or anything crazy.
Yeah, I just said there was. I never said there was any shoving or pushing.
But you said he like doesn't respect him.
It appears to me that he doesn't. He could love the guy. I don't know. Just based on the optics of him walking off the field.
To calm the F down on a Zoom meeting earlier today.
No, I didn't.
Oh, now it comes out.
Brinson's angry. I'm not jumping in on this. That's what you said.
Yeah, that's what I said.
And you guys are going to be at full fisticuffs next time you see each other.
I'll punch him.
You better get on a little step stool if you're going to hit me in the face.
Whoa!
Up high!
Had that one in the chamber ready to fire.
God almighty.
All right, maybe they respect each other.
Breech, you don't think this guy can beat you up, Breech?
I said to be clear, Kirk could absolutely beat me up.
I think this is the only Kirk Cousins that could beat you up. Like,
can you show the video of Kyler Cliff? I'll put it in there. Kirk Cousins ain't beating anybody in this podcast up.
No, I think he beats up Brinson. I mean Breech. He's tall too. I'll give him that.
He could take me.
Could he beat up you and me together?
I mean,
actually,
yes.
I don't really fight anybody.
Yes is the answer.
I avoid fights.
Yeah, you say after you puff out your chest, that's your follow-up.
Brinson versus
Kirk Cousins would be the one quarterback I would be willing to fight, maybe, or Jake Fromm.
Yeah, there it is. Jake, you're such a
like,
failure.
You gave Wilson ammo for that first overall pick. I mean, Kyler.
Okay, it's fine. Maybe it's fine. I mean, he played great, and I don't dispute the fact that he probably gets annoyed with Kingsbury yelling at him on the headset about whatever he's yelling at him about, and he was fed up. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it here at the end. But you look at he had enough. There we go.
Murray,
come on.
Barking his way over to the sideline.
Murray had a lot of that energy last week against Seattle, where he would be frustrated. You can see it right there.
Yeah.
I will say Cliff's affect was like
buildup of a number of weeks. This offense has been struggling.
Well, they don't score an offensive touchdown last week.
Congenial situation to me. It's like
I guess
an everyday occurrence.
It's all a matter of perspective. I thought it
was. Shout out to D. Bettis in the comments. He's so mad. So like he always like he's a Cardinals fan, I think, but he's like, when Arizona's leading this division in 6 weeks, you won't be talking about this. You guys are just talking to talk. That's what a podcast is, buddy. We're gonna do a break, Billy, or no break?
Break.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, are Kyler and Cliff living in a toxic relationship? Will it cost the Cardinals their season? Wilson will tell us next. Just kidding. We should talk about the Saints. By the way, this is the highest scoring game in the history of the Cliff-Kyler combination.
So before,
which is funny since Cliff and Kyler's offense didn't score 42 points.
Yeah, I was going to say before Andy Dalton turned into Andy Dalton the Pumpkin on primetime, the Cardinals had been a part of 346 plays where they had trailed this season, and only 13 plays the entire season had they led, and that didn't happen until the pick six Appaloosa late in the first half allowed them to get the lead, in which they never let go of, even though Andy Dalton furiously tried to come back in the second half.
He did furiously try to come back, and it didn't quite work.
I think one good note moving forward is that live overs in Cardinals games are a good look if they are trailing in the first half. Thoughts?
You're the gambling expert. I don't usually pay attention to the live lines. I do know you just said there. Maybe think of something else. So typically the
Cliff kind of cranks up the pass rate when he's trailing, and when they're. Actually, here's a better question. Should Eno Benjamin start over James Conner? Because I think he should.
James hurt, right? He didn't dress tonight.
Well, yeah, but Eno Benjamin's like awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I have no issue with that. That seems pretty easy. I think it's the last year of James's deal. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he looked good against the Saints, but the Saints defense hasn't been as good as everyone thought it was going to be this year, which is a little bit weird. I mean, you look at what Eno Benjamin did last week against the Seahawks, and it was zilch. I mean,
E3, baby.
Yeah, it was. E3 doesn't play defense, Ryan, but we'll count that. We'll count that.
Does it all.
I mean, we're talking about a Seahawks defense that is horrible, and, he didn't do anything in that game. So it's hard to say, should he still be the starter once James Conner comes back? I don't know. Based on this game, yes. Based on last week, no. So I think it's one of those things where there's a reason they have a running back by committee. Just play the hot hand. Play the hot hand.
What about a bigger overarching question? Should Kingsbury give up play calling duties, which he said he would happily do if it made the team better last week when asked about it a couple times?
Well, then Kyler would be yelling at someone else, which might be a good thing.
Or maybe Kyler wouldn't be yelling at all. Maybe Kyler would be happy.
I mean, we heard Brian Daboll talk about it a little bit, why he doesn't have play calling duties. Just said becoming a head coach, you have a lot of responsibilities, and that's just one of those things. You get someone you trust, and you let them run the show, and you do what a head coach does. And so we've seen that, Nathaniel Hackett has same kind of issue in Denver that Cliff is having, that the quarterback and coach really coexisting well.
Shout out to KTI12 in the comments. He said maybe Cliff and Kyler should resolve their issues using Pick Six sponsor BetterHelp. That actually is get them the Pick Six discount code, and they can get a deal on it too. I like that.
I don't think the Cardinals are very good. I mean, they're
not. They're not good. It just turns out, as Breech noted, the Saints aren't very good. They didn't have Marshawn Lattimore on Thursday night, but all the Jarvis Landry, Mike Thomas, and everyone else that was missed on offense, they're bad. And I think, to quote the late great Denny Green, they are who we thought they were. The Cardinals I'm talking about. So should Cliff Kingsbury give a play calling duty or not? You didn't answer the question.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
Yeah, he had it. He came prepared.
Green, what a legend he was.
He was a legend. Okay, here's a question for you. If Kyler walked off the field and talked to Denny Green like that, what's Denny Green's taking a swing? He is dropping him on the sidelines.
All right. Okay. Who would you rather? All right. A risk-free bet. You pick one team of the two teams who played tonight. You win $1,000 if they make the playoffs. I mean, if they don't, bet. You have to risk-free, I guess. We'll give it to you. Who are you picking? You get $1,000 if your team who you pick makes the playoffs. Who are you picking?
Breech, you go first.
I'm picking the Cardinals. I think the Saints, when they're fully healthy, are probably better, but they're not fully healthy, and their schedule is much more difficult.
I'm taking the Saints because Jameis is still has time to turn this thing around and save your credibility.
Jameis. Get off the Jameis bandwagon.
There's one person on it. It's me. Dude, actually, two. Emery Hunt's driving.
Dude, you're becoming the Breech. Like Breech is to Andy Dalton as Wilson Jameis Winston. Yeah, you're Jameis.
I'm fine with that.
Jameis.
I like a good comeback story.
What's wrong with the Andy Dalton comeback story?
When's it going to happen? I've been waiting for. He's been in the league 11 years.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
No, 0.
Yeah, I just think that the Cardinals have a more manageable schedule down the stretch.
The only thing that gives me pause with the Cardinals, a lot of things do. The primary thing is Cliff Kingsbury. Like Dennis Allen isn't Bill Parcells, but Dennis Allen is Bill Parcells compared to Cliff Kingsbury.
Also, the thing with Kingsbury's team's crater at like.
That's the other thing I was going to mention when you were talking. You mentioned something earlier about the Cardinals. Oh, the live line betting. DeAndre Hopkins they usually win with because he's there at the beginning of the season. This is about the time that they take the shoes off, sit in the lazy boy, and just say we're out for the next 2.5 months.
You know that I believe I was told by people on Twitter that and who knows
the rest of the
trust people on Twitter, but the official release date for Call of Duty is October 20 is in a week from today. I believe if you
I told you this.
On Twitter or in real life?
No, in real life, I chose this last week. I literally brought this up on Sunday.
Yeah.
I literally
Didn't expect
said
to remember everything.
that
You have to
coming
remember,
out
we
on the
Brinson
28th.
attributing Billy's information to people.
Sources.
Funny quotes on Twitter.
Buddy quotes, there it is.
Technically, he could actually be playing the new Call of Duty right now because if he pre-ordered it, then that means he could actually start the campaign.
What he definitely did.
He did 100%. Kyler Murray is. Do we know? Does anybody know what Kyler Murray's username is on Call of Duty?
Maybe he was playing Call of Duty. He had the headset on when he came off the field, and he was yelling at his teammate, not at Cliff Kingsbury.
At Cliff Dingleberry. That's his.
Cliff
That's
sucks.
his name.
Cliff sucks 39.
David McNichols in the chat points out we've spent enough time on useless stuff already. We don't need to spend time on a meme, and I'm only highlighting this because, like, I don't know that it is a meme.
What's the meme?
That Kyler plays Call of Duty a lot, and like
Richard Sherman made a joke about it in the pregame. For whatever that's worth,
dude.
If your own team is giving you a homework clause,
when a video game comes out and it's like chronicled over multiple years, and you were like you're sponsored by that video game.
Well, let me ask this: who's the bigger problem on the outside looking in from your perspective? Cliff Kingsbury, or Kyler Murray?
That's an interesting question. I would say that it's
chicken and egg question.
I don't think so.
I think it's Kyler because
really.
Well, no. This is a little nuanced answer here.
Oh boy,
you can't get rid of the franchise quarterback as easily as you can get rid of the coach.
But who? Okay, the other.
I think Kyler is probably better at his job than Cliff is.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Who's a more productive member of the organization? Breech?
Kyler.
Okay, so if we're willing, why are you making that face? What has Cliff done?
What's Kyler done?
Kyler's played some pretty good football in spurts. He hasn't been consistent, no doubt about it.
Is Kyler worse?
Yes.
Does Cliff actively make Kyler worse?
Yes. All right. So who's your favorite offensive coordinator? Sean Payton. Would Sean Payton make Kyler better or worse? Okay. Well, Josh McDaniels.
Probably make Kyler better.
Right. Who else?
I'm not a huge Cliff guy. He's handsome as hell, but I'm not a huge Cliff guy.
I know, but so my point is that if Cliff isn't making him better, he's making him level out or making him worse. Whereas you get the best, Sean Payton or whoever, Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan, you would imagine that Kyler's playing better than what we're.
All right, so that's it. All right, so let's flip McVay and Cliff.
Yeah,
Cliff's Matthew Stafford's like a pile of pulp on the carpet.
Matthew Stafford is Andy Dalton's calling Matthew Stafford to offer condolences for all the pick sixes he's throwing. If Cliff Kingsbury is the coach.
He's third or tied second all time behind two
right
Hall of Famers.
No, I think the Cardinals. I wouldn't say they would be a lot better. They would be marginally better because the Rams are
Sean McVay.
I'm just saying, and the whole totality of the team, because like the Rams aren't crushing it right now. They have injuries and there's some concerns.
If you put Sean McVay on the Cardinals, the Rams and Cliff on the Rams are easily the worst team in the division, and the Cardinals are like rolling.
They might be like a 3/4 of a game better right now, half a game better over the course of 6 games.
I mean, I think
they're not gonna be 5-1 or something. I don't think.
I think Cliff to McVay is a pretty big leap.
I do too. I'm just talking about the rest of the players. What do you think, Breech?
I don't even know what you guys are talking about anymore. I got
what are you thinking about? Pop-Tarts?
Cliff's fourth and
I was actually thinking about who I would get rid of. If I had to get rid of Cliff or Kyler, who would I dump first?
I don't know why are you
well, I'm saying the Kyler answer is like if you could get the contract off the books and like you knew you weren't getting fired and reboot it, maybe you consider that.
Here's something interesting.
There's no salary cap for coaches.
Right. So Bob Swirsky mentions this in the comments, Breech, throwing your words against you. And you can confirm whether you actually said this. To quote Breech, Cliff calling horrible plays and Kyler bailing him out with playground ball ain't sustainable.
That's why I think Cliff is the problem. That's why I said I would keep Kyler.
Oh, okay. I thought you were rethinking.
Oh, no. I think if I had to keep one of the two, I'd keep Kyler.
I would keep that.
My thought process was how much of it is on Kingsbury? Is it like 55, 45?
Research flat Earth. That's the dumbest thing on the planet. The one fourth down call they had where Kyler actually got the first down, there was room to get a first down between the end zones. It was like 4th and 1 or 4th. I think it was 4th and 1. and they sort of did like a little play.
Yeah, you're right. It was a 4th down. That's right.
Sprinted him left, and he got the first down, but didn't get the touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the first good 4th down call that Kingsbury's had all year.
Usually and it looked like they did play action. I saw my guy, they're going to throw the ball, but they rolled out. That's right. Yep.
He barely made it too, by the way.
Yeah.
We got at bracket phase bracket K1 is Kyler's gamer tag.
Billy knows what's up.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Look, I would, if you were like, Kyler's contract is the concern for me in picking that because it's under the salary cap, whereas Cliff, you can literally discard and there's no financial ramifications.
I don't even think it's close. Like I would get rid of Cliff.
Right. But if you got
tomorrow and build around Kyler.
Sure.
Assuming Kyler can get along with people.
Okay. Sure. And can you eradicate Call of Duty?
Is him playing video games the problem? Has that been the problem this year, you think? Just based on what we've seen from afar?
I mean, they put a contract in his clause.
I know, but I'm asking you, just based
video games, like
after a month and a half into the season, and you had to rank the biggest problems on this team. Where's Kyler?
Really, not that high.
He's not one.
He's not one,
and we know who one is.
Obviously, Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, Robbie Anderson. That's why they brought him in, so they could move him to number 1 and Cliff would fall to number 2.
I think Kyler's a unique and special talent, but I don't know. I legitimately don't know how much of him not meeting what he should be meeting is
you know how you
Cliff,
find out,
and how much is Kyler.
You know how you find out?
You fire Cliff and you hire Sean Payton. There you go. All right, that's it. That's the podcast. Enjoy Call of Duty.
Love Call of Duty.
Check out.
What's your username, Breech, in Call of Duty?
I don't have one.
Dexter be bad.
I have a kid now. I don't have time for Call of Duty.
Highly recommend that you Google space. You'll see that the Earth is a big circle.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, no.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For Wilson, for Breech, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys later.